Good afternoon, folks. Well, the other day, I should say, after we saw Ohio State come away at the very end with a 28-14 win over Texas, I mean, it's what you call a very good game. Now, what I'm hearing lots of speculations from Indiana fans saying, well, we had the third best team in the country because we lost to the two teams that are in the national championship. Because we lost to Notre Dame and Ohio State. And now they will probably try to crown themselves national champs, while Michigan, considering they beat Ohio State, will try, if Ohio State wins the national championship, that is, they'll try to crown themselves unseeded national champs. Which, I don't know how you even do that. That's just like beyond ridiculous. You're literally just embarrassing yourselves. I mean, I get that some other teams who went undefeated did that. But those weren't like big league schools. Those were not like SEC, Big Ten, or Mount. They weren't any of those. Now, let's look at some of these teams. Indiana. They got slaughtered on early, and then they kind of came back and scored. And literally came up short against Notre Dame. They lost by 10. Then Notre Dame's second game, they won by 13 over Georgia. Or a depleted Georgia team. And then they played against a very, very good Penn State team. And won by 3. Notre Dame defeated Georgia 23-10. Then they defeated Penn State 27-24. Now Ohio State, who pretty much, literally won every game in double digits. They beat Tennessee, they slaughtered Tennessee 42-17. They made good dog food. They made good dogs out of food, volunteers out of good food. Then they grilled some good duck, 41-21. And then they just got done making some Texas beef brisket out of Texas, 28-14, after Texas manhandled Michigan, 31-12. So it's almost like a food chain here. I mean, you gotta see how, this is gonna be lined up. I mean, Penn State, after their win over SMU 38-10, then they beat Boise State 31-14. And then, after their close encounter loss to Notre Dame 27-24, you gotta give Penn State credit. They literally almost had it all. But Arizona State 39-31 loss in double overtime to Texas. That was a good game. A very good game. Now, Texas went over Clemson 38-24. That was a pretty good game, but Clemson came back. They were ahead, but then Clemson came back. But then Texas kind of came away in the end of the fourth quarter. But overall, it was just the way it is, how it played out. Ohio State's played with the most dominant game ever. Now, will Ohio State win by a touchdown like they did the last time? Win the last second like they did the last time? I don't think so. Because this Ohio State team has played with... these two teams are literally almost as equally matched. Now, don't get me wrong, Ohio State lost by 1 point to Oregon. And then they got embarrassed at home by that team up north, which I don't know what... They were kind of playing like that at one point against Texas, which I'm like, oh, not again. I'm like, oh. Just running the ball up the middle instead of trying to, when they had the big guys covering the middle. I'm like, what are you doing, coach? And we were like playing to not to lose instead of trying to play to win. That's what we did against Michigan. We were playing not to lose instead of trying to play to win, which is what we were doing. We needed to mix it up a little bit better than what we did. It's trying to try to play what was actually working. We went to what wasn't working, which is what these clowns don't understand. But somehow we managed to mix it up just right enough and win 28-14. When you have triple team one player, which is what they did with Jeremiah Smith, they shut him down real well. You have other wide receivers who are wide open. I don't understand why you couldn't pass to those wide receivers. Oh. Now, don't get me wrong. Notre Dame's going to have a good defense. They have a very, very good defense. Their run defense is about like Penn State, except I think Penn State's was a little bit better, but if Ohio State can do the shorts, not necessarily short screen pass, but which is what they pulled and took the 14-7 at halftime lead. But if they pull like some kind of screen passes and do not necessarily screen passes, but they should do short passes, they might take short slant passes because that's what was killing them early in the game. They take those short slant passes and leave them wide open in the middle. Open slant passes. That'll give them easy first downs, a lot of easy first downs. It'll rip Notre Dame up a bunch. And then that'll open up the run game, and then they can start running the ball more. Same with the long passing game. And then we get to the run game, they catch on to the run game. That opens up the passing game again. Then we go back to the passing game. That's literally what we needed to do against Michigan, and we didn't do that. We didn't do that. And it needs to be up-tempo. And Texas, I gotta say hats off to Texas. Quinn Ewers, good player. An outstanding player. He's a great guy. I never met the guy. I mean, he's a good guy. Good quarterback. I gotta say. He's a good quarterback. He's an outstanding young man. I gotta say hats off to him. He deserves all the credit he can get. He put up a really good game that he could against Ohio State, but against his former team. But his former roommate really laid the law down on him a couple times. One time he did the scoop and score on him. I'm sure he was saying deep down inside, you could have stayed at Ohio State and you probably would have been the starter this year. And most likely that would have happened. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where Will Howard would have gone to school if Quinn Ewers was still at Ohio State. Personally, I don't know if Quinn Ewers would have been the starter, but I seriously think he probably would have been. But it is what it is. Quinn Ewers went to Texas. But it is what it is. No big deal. Congratulations. But I seriously might think he has till January 15th to decide if he wants to enter the draft or if he wants to stay with Texas one more year. So we'll find out if Quinn Ewers actually enters the draft or not. But then again, if he doesn't decide to stay, then the spring transfer portal opens and he'll probably hit the transfer portal because they were really talking about having Manning in at quarterback next year. So that might change a lot about Texas next year. So who knows? I don't even know how good Texas will be even with Manning in. I mean, we'll have to see how Ohio State's defense is next year because we open with Texas. I mean, it's going to be a good game between Notre Dame defense and Ohio State defense. But as of the other part of this rant, people are wondering are saying it's useless why Ohio State and Notre Dame are even in the tournament. Okay, you know why? Well, personally, it's not useless. You know why? Let's put the college basketball tournament into perspective. You call that one useless? When the Cinderellas get into the tournament, you call it useless then? Because they say the league champions aren't in it. Okay, well, here's how it goes. First off, if you're the league champion and you're the number 1 overall seed, play like it. Play like you deserve to be there. Play like you really want to win it. Play like you want to win it all. Quit acting like, oh, this is a walk in the park and we're going to win. We're going to get past our next opponent. Look what Ohio State did to Tennessee. 42-17. Then you get Ohio State versus Oregon, the top seed team versus Ohio State. They beat them by 1 point earlier in the season. Do you think it was going to be a 1 point? You think there was going to be a repeat from the last time? Ohio State had your number. They knew exactly your plays the last time. You think they're going to let you walk in the damn park again? No. You're going to have to step up your game. And you didn't. Ohio State took advantage of you. And they came after you and took you down. As a Penn State. Boise State. Like I say, if you're a league champ and you want to prove that you belong, then play like it. Play like you belong there. Notre Dame. You need to prove that Notre Dame, they're not even in any league. I get it. I can't stand Notre Dame for the life of me because they are not a part of any league. I've asked every Notre Dame fan, when's the last time you've ever won a league game? When's the last time any of you ever won a league game? Their response is, I've yet to hear any answer from them. You know why? Because they're an independent league. They've never won a single league championship in football. Now, 1 year they did try to do that, but they lost to Clemson. But it was only a 1-year contract. Now, with that being said, this is like a chance to redeem themselves, considering that they have literally failed to show any kind of challenge that they got. But Ohio State can prove that they are that good and worthy if they actually do what they can do. Now, same goes with Georgia. I mean, they struggled with Texas. Texas literally had them by the ropes the entire game. Texas proved that Texas took Georgia into overtime and almost beat Georgia. But it took overtime for that game to happen. So, of course, then they wonder why there's no... Well, it's almost like a tournament. Tournaments, there's bound to be upsets in games. Okay, so let's just So we're just expecting to have Ohio State lose to Oregon. We're expecting to have Penn State lose to Boise State. Notre Dame lose to Georgia. Arizona State beat Texas. Okay, so let's just have all those teams move on. Okay. And then we're supposed to have Oregon beat Arizona State. Then we're supposed to have Georgia beat Boise State. And then it's supposed to be Boise State versus Oregon. I mean, not Boise. It's supposed to be Georgia versus Oregon in the national title. And I guess Oregon's supposed to win it all. You know what? That doesn't make any sense. Upsets are bound to happen. And yet you clowns have yet to figure that out, that it doesn't work that way. We don't just hand out national championships by your rank. Your ranks are earned. Your ranks are not handouts. You have to earn the rank. And once that rank is earned, teams are either come out with a chip on their shoulder, like Ohio State has been playing with a chip on their shoulder, and they proved that with Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas. Mostly with Tennessee and Oregon. But then, at the very late end of the game with Texas, they ended up playing... I mean, Texas played really good all game long. No doubt about it. Texas came to play. They gave Ohio State a good shot. But Ohio State, at the end, played like they really wanted it more than Texas. So Notre Dame, they're going to give Ohio State a chance. They're going to give Ohio State a good shot as well. So, but we're going to have to look at that as well. Now, Notre Dame's biggest defeat letdown was against an unranked MAC team. I mean, but then they ended up having a down season as well. So let's look at that number here. You have an unranked. It was 16-14. Now, last year's game with Notre Dame, Kyle McCord led the team all the way downfield, scored a touchdown in like the very last second. Only 1 second left on the clock. He get 2 seconds left. He gets in the end zone with 1 second left on the clock. Touchdown. Extra point. Good. 17-14. Ohio State kicks off. Well, obviously, Ohio State kicks off with 1 second, so no time off. But then Notre Dame plays, and then they do laterals, and then they were tackled, but then it was an illegal forward lateral at one point, so they declined the penalty because he ended up being tackled. Illegal forward lateral, so even if he would have scored a touchdown, that would have negated the touchdown, so that would have brought the touchdown back for a negated touchdown, and then obviously the game was over. But since he tackled him, they declined the penalty, game over. Ohio State wins the game. So, Ohio State wins 17-14. Now, we're looking at a completely different, revamped team. Leonard, a transfer out of Duke, who is a very good quarterback. Jeremiah Love, who's a hell of a good receiver. Man, Ohio State's got their work cut out for him on defense. I mean, if they pressure the quarterback constantly like they did with Texas, it's going to be an up and down battle. I mean, we just got to play like we really want to win the game. That's all there is to it. Well, with that being said, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications. With that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.